How are you?
Good and you?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Can everyone hear?
Yeah.
Okay, sharp. Everyone can hear. We got this right finally. Hey, it took us 24 days
No,
to
it
get it
hasn't.
right. It took us 24 days to get it right. All right, so let's get into it. So we have Roche Mamabolo, the founder of Laura Center Innovation and Entrepreneurship. He's also the author of a book called The Startup Revolution: Fit In or Stand Out, and he's also a co-curator of TEDx Johannesburg. Hey, you've been working, Tates.
Yeah, boredom is not my friend. I'm trying to avoid being bored.
Yeah. So we have.
How are you guys? Tony, Queen.
Yes. So, leader, lockdown is here, and then a lot of guys are waiting for the upliftment to happen so that they can go back to normal. People are waiting, for them to go back to normal, and it seems like it don't happen anytime soon. Take us through the future, of this lockdown. Take us through the businesses of the future, during this lockdown or after this lockdown. What are we looking into?
Thanks for the opportunity, Vince. I think one of the things before we get into the future, I think it's important to understand the impact that lockdowns have had globally. Even before this lockdown, I mean, there's quite a number of pandemics that we have had before. There's been the Black Death, there's been the 1918 Spanish flu, we have had the SARS in China. We have the HIV and AIDS pandemic that's still not solved even today.
Yeah.
So it's important to understand. I'm sort of trying to put everything in context. That if we are to look at what are the businesses of the future post COVID-19, let's sort of trace back and look at what has been businesses that have been born out of the previous pandemics. Because if you have read the Startup Revolution, and you'll know that in the Startup Revolution, I go back and I sort of understand the history of industrial revolutions, right? And in understanding the past, you're able to understand the future. So if you go back, for instance, if you were to go back to the Black Death of 1930s, it was also another pandemic that took a whole lot of lives globally. If you were to look at the Spanish flu in 1918, that was actually the 1918 pandemic is the worst, in the entire world. I've been reading a couple of books on that. But if you look at what has changed from there, I mean, the era of masks, quarantine, social distancing, it's not something new with COVID. It's been there before,
Serious.
Yeah, no, it's been there. It's been there. As I was reading some of these books on the 1918, I was actually quite surprised. It's as if what's happening in 1918 is happening again. So history is really repeating itself, and it looks like we have not really learned from the previous pandemics. Quarantining, cities closing themselves off. No one is allowed to come in from outside of the city. But let's get into what happened after the Black Death is, Europe moved from what they call a feudal system, where there was a barter, it was informal system, to where after that pandemic, people had to now start having proper contracts, because when that pandemic hit the country, people they lost quite a number of traction in terms of who was doing what for me, and how am I supposed to repay them. So after that Black Death pandemic, then people decided we need to have formal contracts so that I can have something that's signed, so that I can prove that I delivered this to you, and this is how much you owe me. And then, of course, what you'll remember is the SARS pandemic that happened in China, I think in 2002 or so.
Yeah.
Again, even in China, I mean, if you remember, Vince, Michael Jackson, when he traveled to countries like India, he would wear a mask.
A mask.
Right? So
I recall that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's precisely because he understood, the challenges. Back then, we used to think he's a show off. He thinks he's better. Blah 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 blah.
He's a star.
But yeah, he doesn't want to breathe the same air that we breathe. But actually, he understood. He understood the situation. He understood that viruses, especially in places where there's a lot of population and there's animals, because viruses are as a result of viruses moving from animals to humans.
To humans,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah. So in this world where the population is growing, there's a lot of food that we need. So we breed quite a lot of pigs, and in China they eat bats, and they put them in confined spaces. So viruses spread out. So that's what happened with COVID now, but that's also what happened with the SARS epidemic. And that's when Alibaba was born, if you remember. Alibaba was born as a result of as a result of quarantine, self-isolation, people not wanting to go to stores and buy things. So then they resorted to, can we buy online?
Online,
Can
yeah.
deliver to my house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to go out there, So 2002 SARS gave rise to businesses like your Alibabas, where people just decided, I'm not going out anymore. I can buy online and they'll deliver to my house. And if you look at how Alibaba is doing now, and if you look at how Amazon is doing now, I mean, there's projections that as a result of this pandemic, Jeff Bezos might be the first, not billionaire,
Trillionaire.
the one that comes trillionaire, yes.
Yes,
as
the
a
first
result of this,
trillionaire.
because people don't want to go out. Yeah, because people don't want to go out, and as a result, they sit in and they order, and things get delivered to them. So if you have a platform that is geared towards that type of a business, there's lots of money to be made with that.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at, for instance, the next crisis also that came out was the financial crisis of 2008.
Yes.
If you look at that, the financial crisis of 2008, if you look at that as well, it gave rise to Uber and BNB, because as a result of the financial crisis, things got expensive and people could not afford. So, instead of just me taking a ride, how about we share a ride and share and split the costs, And so people started looking at ways of how can we save. I want to still travel, but the hotels are expensive. Is there a cheaper way of staying at a place, And that's when Airbnb came about, So as a result of that crisis, there were businesses that were born out of that crisis. And obviously I can rewind back to look at those businesses that were born as a result of this crisis. So we are now in 2020. COVID. Yeah, so COVID is here. There's quite a lot of businesses that are also going to boom. Already we are seeing some that are booming. For instance, the platform that we're using now,
Zoom. Yeah.
The share price of Zoom pre the COVID pandemic, post to where we are now, it's sort of like more than tripled, It's one of the most valuable shares in the New York Stock Exchange. And it's quite interesting to look at, as Zoom's share price went up, some of the hotel share prices went down, because obviously tourism was affected. So it's quite interesting. So I've split your answer into three, so to speak. So the first is to understand the context and the history of how businesses behave after a crisis or pandemic. So now that we're in 2019, there are businesses, that are not very sexy, right, so to speak, that are going to take off, and some have been taking off in other parts of the world, in Italy, in New York, right? Things like mass burials, right? So if you look at, for instance, in New York, they don't do coffins anymore because they've run out of coffins as a result of so they've run out of coffins. So what they do is they just do boxes. When I was reading the 1918 book, they also ran out of coffins. They started burying people in sheets. So they'll just put you in a sheet, and because then they even banned what they call mass burials. So if you were to die, the only people who could bury you were your immediate family.
Only.
So your dad, people that stay with you in the house would bury you. So they ran out of coffins. So if somebody dies in the house, we look around, call around. There's no coffins. Then we put you in a sheet, and then hire somebody to come with a car or whatever to come take you to the cemetery, and then we get the guys to dig for you. We put there maybe 3 or 4 of us because it was mass burials were bad. Pretty much like what's happening now. It's just that now we limit it to
50
people, so to speak,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Yeah. So mortuaries are going to are going to make lots of money, right? Mortuaries, boxes, caskets, manufacturers are going to make lots of money there. Florists are going to make lots of money because we want to put flowers there when you die. So those industries, are going to make lots of money. I'm saying this not proudly, but one man's death is another man's risk.
Yeah.
And given the fact that we're opening up the economy, there is that fear that we're going to have a second wave, right?
Mm.
And when we have a second wave, it might get we are looking at mass burials. That is going to happen. If the second wave picks up, we're looking at mass burials, which means people who are in those industries need to beef up with stock because there's going to be a lot of demand for that. Considering the fact that the vaccine is only probably going to be available end of this year, beginning of next year, so it's still a long way to go. Given the fact that if you catch it in 2-3 weeks, you either survive or you're out. With the flu pandemic, if you get it now, tomorrow at 10 o'clock you're gone.
Serious.
Right? So the flu pandemic was that horrible. I mean, you read up stories of people saying, I meet you in the morning, you're my friend. In the evening, I hear you're gone. The following day, you're buried. So at least with this one, it gives you a grace of about 2 weeks. And then it's between you and your immune system, right? Between 2 weeks, if your immune system prevails, you're out. If it doesn't, you're gone, right? So that business, there are quite a lot of opportunities there. Of course, that also comes with, your caring industries, nurses, home care, those type of professions also, because there's going to be a demand of those type of professionals. So nurses, people who are in home care space, are going to be in huge supply. Already in some other countries, like for instance in Botswana, I know that they've been recalling some of their retired nurses. So those type of professions are going to be very, very, very important and are going to be in demand. Maybe that is not now as we are at the moment because our health system still can manage. We have the reason why we talk about flattening the curve is not to stop the virus because we can't stop it because we don't have the vaccine, but is to slow it so that we are able to prepare ourselves in terms of hospital infrastructure, so that we get our beds ready, we get our hospitals ready, we get our ventilators, our those type of equipments. If we don't have them, we are able to import them. So flattening the curve was a buying time strategy, right? But now that we are ready, we've got all the hospital infrastructure and we have added more beds. Now we can open. Now you can open the economy,
laughing mad.
And then you say, and you say it's in your hands. May the best immune system win, right? So and that's where we are, right? That's where we are. So splitting the curve was not to eliminate the virus. We can't. We don't have the vaccine, but it was to slow it down so that we prepare. But with that, obviously, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be required, nurses and those people who are healthcare. So that's the dark side of the opportunities that are coming. So what's the brighter side of the opportunities that are coming? So you know, one of the things that I think is going to happen, a lot of people are going to be afraid of doing international travel because you know that's where you know this thing originated. So airports are going to be you're going to be very careful, especially if you're going to try and go international. So a lot of people are going to avoid doing that. But what that means is if I want to go on holiday, we are going to sort of do domestic travel. So there's a huge opportunity for domestic tourism. You know, hotels, not yeah, hotels, Airbnbs, motels, and those type of industries. So Hareletsang, for instance. So that's those are the industries that are going to do very well because I don't want to go outside of hey, I'm staying away from
You don't want to go
New
to
York.
US. Yeah.
No. After New York, I'm not going to New York. I'm fine. Dubai, grand. I'm not going there, right?
You're not going to China, Shenzhen.
No. I was thinking of going to China. Hey, Zoom. I'm not going there.
Yeah.
So what that means is, of course, there'll be a whole lot of local tourism taking place, which is good because then it supports local businesses. And the same logic also takes place in terms of local production. There's going to be a lot of local production because I'd rather produce and get it here than from out there. It gets into the plane, it comes through here, and all this kind of thing. Education is going online. That goes without saying. We have taken our academy online, and
Laura Center. Yeah.
What we have picked up is it actually works far much better. I don't know why we didn't do this earlier. It works far much better. I don't have to get stuck in traffic going to class. There's no logistics. If I want tea is in my kitchen. You don't have to, so
I don't have to wear nice pants.
No.
I can just wear a nice shirt.
A nice top. I don't have to wear a nice top. I don't have to wear a nice top. It's convenient. I have home ground advantage. I'm warm. Yeah? So education is going online. And I think what the COVID has done is it has accelerated adoption to that medical technology as well. So guys who are into med tech, your ventilators, those are also are going to be very important. Of course, banking is going e-banking, electronic banking.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs who are in the digital marketing space, this is the opportunity for them because I don't have a big budget because the economy has been closed, right? So business has been very slow. But now that we're opening up the economy, I need to advertise myself. But because a lot of people are afraid to go out, they're still a bit wary of going out. A lot of people will stay indoors. So how do I market my business to people who are indoors? And the only channel for me to get to them is obviously through digital marketing. So I need people who are very good at digital marketing so that they can sell my services and my products digitally. So that space is going to grow very, very fast.
So these are guys who do posters. These are guys who do video editing, websites as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those guys they need to sort of get their platforms ready, because there's going to be a lot of takeoff from there. My suspicion is there's going to be a comeback of drive-in movies. I suspect, I prefer going for a drive-in.
I think I saw Cape Town. Cape Town, they've already started with, with one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I saw it in Cape Town. I think already they have it. Yeah.
So it's spot on. I think it's getting there. It's getting to anything driving, and I'm comfortable in my car. I don't, contact crowds. I suspect because they were actually dying down. If you remember, drive-throughs were dying down. I think quite a number of them. There used to be a drive-through, Million Mall. It was closed before they revamped it. A couple of drive-throughs have been closed. So I suspect that might come back. I suspect cleaning companies are going to take off also, because hygiene is becoming a huge thing now, right? So cleaning services are something that a lot of people will need to look into, because if I have some form of, I'm hosting people, I need to I need to get my place cleaned and sanitized before people come, and I need to get my place cleaned and sanitized after the people have left. So I suspect instead of just one form of revenue, there will be before and after, and I think that will also be legislated, before you do a major event where you are bringing people in. I mean, you're already seeing it with churches, right? There's those regulations about churches that there's all the specifications that they need to meet.
Yeah,
So I suspect the specification for churches is going to apply across the board, where if even when we uplift the 50 mark, I suspect that those regulations. So if you're in the cleaning space, look very closely at those regulations, because my suspicion is those regulations are going to take off and are going to be applicable in other industries. So there might be opportunities there. And of course, we spoke about delivery services. I think delivery services also are going to take off as well, because people don't want to go out. I was saying to somebody, for me, I don't care about all these levels. It's level 5 or level 0. It's level 5 or level 0. I'm not going out until it's level 0, right? So these level 2s and 3s, I don't trust those, right? So 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 if I can get things delivered, why not, right? And I think especially in townships, events, I think there's a lack of those type of services in townships.
True.
So
Yeah.
you get those in suburbs or whatever, but in townships, I think there's a huge opportunity there.
what happened?
Right.
Right.
Magogo will not want to go out. I mean, if she's over 60, she's very scared of going out. So, if the guys who can do deliver Sundays, veggies, 7 colors, you collect orders throughout the township, you collect and you drop off in those. That's
In those
another
houses.
yeah, in those houses. That's another opportunity. Um, Online collaboration tools. So online collaboration tools would be things like the platform that you're using, Zoom, Team, WhatsApp, So you're going to see a lot of those type of communication tools. So the guys who are in the tech space, this is an opportunity for them to see if they can also come up with some of these online connection tools, because people are not going to go to work. So if we can have that, connection tool anywhere you are, that will also be awesome. But of course, something that will never go out of fashion is food, agriculture, right? Because I'll give you an example. In Botswana, for instance, because they're highly dependent on South Africa in terms of food, but now because we are all quarantined, we have closed borders. They have also closed their borders. The question is, because South Africa supplies us with food, how are we going to survive, right? But of course, the food gets delivered, even though they drop off the containers at the border. But this raises another important, issue of food security. There's going to be a whole lot of demand for food, and I think even more demand for food, because you have a situation where some of the production sectors have slowed down, but we still need to eat, right? So food will never go out of fashion. People eat every day, so that will never go out of fashion. Online entertainment, your Netflix, your Showmax, those type of platforms also, I mean, they are taking off. Again, I can't go to movies. I've seen 5 or 6 reviews on Mnet. So you know what, Showmax, Netflix, those ones, and any related industry around those type of online entertainment, like if you are into movie productions and all those type of things, because people are going to be indoors far more than they are outdoors, right? And if you're indoors most of the time, if your kids are indoors most of the time, you want to entertain them, you want to entertain yourself, what's on TV? what's on Netflix, what's on Showmax.
Yeah.
So you get to see that is going to take off. But also, of course, with that come the rise of YouTube channel, right? Because you know what, I don't have a huge production company. Can't I just produce for myself? Why can't I just produce my own show? So you're going to see a lot of that space also taking off in a big way. And of course, you know, and I mean, I can go
You can
on
go
and on and
on.
on.
Yeah,
But
you
what
can
this
go on.
means,
Yeah.
you know, what this means is you need to digitize your business. So we're getting to a space where you need to digitize your business. Even if you're manufacturing toilet paper, because of course toilet paper is going to be in demand, sanitizers, masks, whatever. You need to digitize it. It needs to be online. You need to be able to communicate with your customers online. They need to be able to pay you online. You need to be linked to a delivery company. So yes, the business model is going to change in a drastic way because it needs to be digitized. And you need to then supply chain is going to pandemics. You know, there's going to be others. This is not the end. I mean, much as we had SARS in 2012, we are having Corona now. There might be another one in 5 years. There might be another one in 10, 15 years. So this is part of, you know, human beings, you know, increasing population. Because the question that you need to ask yourself is, why is it most viruses are starting in China, in Asia, for instance? And the answer is SARS, COVID. They're starting in China because of the population. There's a lot of people, and as the population increases, you need to feed the population, which means you need a lot of animals, meat. And as we have more meat and animals, and of course some of them, I mean, if you look at they call it wet markets in Wuhan or in other parts of China. Animals are in confined spaces. Some are killed, some are alive. There's a dog next to that. There's a bat there. There's a mouse next to that. It's all confined in small spaces, and as a result, these viruses are able to combine, right? And as they're able to combine, they form a new virus. So a virus from a bat combining with a virus from a pig, right? So these are two separate viruses. When they combine, they battle it out, and they form one new virus. And that virus, because I'm buying the meat at that place, I eat it or I breathe it, it gets into me. It's a new virus altogether. So we might have a vaccine for a bat virus. We might have a vaccine for a pig virus. But when these two meet, we don't have that vaccine for the new virus that comes through, right? And this is why we still don't have a vaccine for the COVID-19 because it's a new strain. So we're sort of trying to see, this is new to us. We don't know this thing. And therefore, let's come up with, you know, a vaccine. And it usually takes about 12 months to 18 months to come up with a vaccine. So it's an excellent question that you're asking. And I think because the governments have been warned. They have been warned.
We have.
Did a talk. Bill Gates did a talk, TED 2015. I can't remember.
Yeah, 2015.
Said, we're not ready for it. Our infrastructure is not ready for a new pandemic. You know, our health systems are not ready. We're not ready. You know, it was a very short talk, but he was outlining what he's talking about. And you know what? Because he releases quite a number of books that he reads. I went and I read some of the books. I read about 4 or 5 of the books that he read. And I actually realized, had I read this thing, I would have also picked it up that we're actually not ready, right? So why didn't we listen to it's politics, it's economics, it's scientists are nerds, you know what? This thing is not there, right? The last time we had this pandemic of this nature was in 1918, right? And SARS, we managed to contain SARS in 2012. So it's not a bigger problem, right? Unfortunately, and I'm hoping that the question that you're asking, the leaders are asking themselves that question, because what it means is going forward, we need to change how we
need to change
you know, our food that we eat,
our alertness.
You know, we need to change. It's going to change a whole lot of things. The food we eat, hygiene, it's going to change a whole lot of things. The very same way 9/11 has changed how we travel, right? This pandemic is a reminder that we need to be careful of what we eat. We can't be eating bats anymore, you know, and all these other things that are animal control, zoology, those type of things. But I think they were ignored. pretty much like they're being ignored now.
Yeah.
Even now, we
Yeah.
are not listening to scientists, right? If you look at newspapers, news, magazines, you would assume that given this pandemic, would know about 5, 6, or 10 scientists in our country. We know politicians and journalists far more than we know scientists.
True.
So there's this approach as societies that because these things are too difficult, science is too difficult, you know what, it's not sexy, it's not entertaining, so we'll put it to the side. We want lock-up party. Those are the things, so you would assume that by now, Vince, you know 4 or 5 scientists who are dealing with this thing.
Not even
Like
one.
science will be so fashionable. We don't. And I
Mm.
think it talks the fact that we don't take things that we should take seriously. We don't take it. But it's a good question. I hope going forward, we'll be better prepared. I think it's. I mean, in the book, The Startup Revolution, I talk about the fact that we are now getting to a space where we have to be self-sufficient, right? Where we have to sort of, and I say in the book, no one is going to pick you up, you pick yourself. Yeah. And this is the time where you need to be able to. And I think one of the things that I didn't talk about, and I think because of the sake of time, is that what we call the gig economy. So the
Yeah.
gig
We'll talk
economy
about that in
is
the future.
freelance. Yes, it's about freelancers, short-term contract workers, and what this pandemic has done is it's sort of accelerated the fact that when I finish my degree, I need to be prepared to run my own consultancy, to do work from home and invoice instead of getting a job and getting a salary. For a number of reasons, companies at the moment cannot afford, because we all have taken this blow. So they're laying off people. So as people are being laid off, what is coming out now is how can I, brush my profile, sell myself as a consultant or as somebody who's offering their services short term in exchange for a fee, instead of a salary. So yes, we are slowly getting there. It's a huge opportunity. I think it's a huge opportunity. Of course, a lot of people will look at it as it's a disruption, it's disrupting my way of life. But I think it's a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
We have students, for instance, we have students at the academy in February, towards the end of March, as part of their assignments. We said to these guys, your assignment is come up with a business idea for now, and then tell us how you're gonna go about it. And these guys went, it was part of an assignment, and these guys started a business, right? They're sitting now, they're looking at orders of 1 million, 4 or 5 months down the line, right? They took us by surprise, like, what? I mean, we gave birth to a business. Within 3 or 4 months, they're sitting with an order of 1 million. They're now saying, we need 1 million. Where can you get 1 million, right? So they're actually making more money. I mean, one is a lawyer, one is working. He's like, you know what? My profession is not good. It's not giving me as much as what this is giving me. So one person can look at this thing and say, and complain and cry and be, make noise. Why is the government not doing this? We want to open up, blah, blah, blah. One person can do that. Another person can say, okay,
where's the opportunity?
Yeah.
Where are the opportunities?
How do I
Right?
capitalize?
Yeah, where are the opportunities, right? And from there, that because as one sector closes, another one is picking up. So what you want is to be able to say, where is the rising tide, right? Where is this rising tide? And get piggyback on that. And as it rises with you, right? So as hotels are closing, because tourism is closed, because they're no longer conferences, because they're no longer outside visitors from outside of not only even the country, from outside of the province. Where are the opportunities? I'm running a BNB. Where are the opportunities, right? So you can complain and say, but when is this thing coming? I'm going to close shop and wait for opening. Or you can say, how about I register my BNB as a quarantine site? So if you are a doctor, you're working at a hospital, and then you suspect that you might be compromised because of some of the patients, instead of going home, how about you come to my space for a week or 2 weeks? I give you lower rates so that after 2 weeks, you are certain that you didn't contract it. Then you can go back to your family. So on the one hand, it's a shame. On the other hand, it's an opportunity.
Nice.
Nice.
Leadership, thank you so much. I think we have, covered a lot. And, we will have to talk again in the future, maybe about gig economy and
I'm
how things
listening
will
to you,
pan out.
Sonia.
Did you hear what I said? Let's talk again in the future, sir. Okay, we're struggling with sound, but I think we got the gist of, what he was saying. So, all peace, and we'll talk again with Roche.